So when you're constipated, the body starts to reabsorb the waste products. It starts to reabsorb all the water out of the poo. And it gets harder and harder and harder, and it gets worse and worse and worse and more difficult to get it out. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Quality of Life Quest. My name is Anneke. Today's topic is constipation. A lot of people find it really difficult to talk about their bowel movements. And as you know by now, most probably, one of the things I do is I work as a healthcare assistant in the acute medical unit. And we have to ask patients about their bowel movements. And quite often the answer about, what is your poo like? It's normal to them, that is. So there's a Bristol Stool Chart. I've mentioned it before in another podcast, but there's the Bristol Stool Chart. You look it up and you aim for number 4. Number 4 is the golden standard. So why do we want to know, and why is constipation such an issue? Out of all the patients I have on a daily basis, at least one person is constipated, at least one. And my basic number of patients is at least 8 and above. So 8, 10, 12, whatever, but at least 8 patients. And out of those 8, at least one is constipated. It may not be the leading cause why they're in hospital, but quite often people are in hospital because they are constipated. And you think, that's their problem, which it is. But why is that a problem? There is a connection between your gut and your brain, and that gets messed up. It's a physical stressor. So if you can't go to the toilet, you're trying and you can't go to the toilet, that's a problem. And you keep on trying and nothing is happening. It's very painful. And it can lead to changes in people's mood, and that can go through agitation, acute confusion, and you can even get delirium from constipation. Now, for most people, it won't get that far because, they kind of deal with it at home. But regular bowel movements are really, really important. It happens. You're human. And bowel movements are part of daily life. So if it's not functioning as it should function, then there's a problem. So when you're constipated, the body starts to reabsorb the waste products. It starts to reabsorb all the water out of the poo. And it gets harder and harder and harder, and it gets worse and worse and worse and more difficult to get it out. It can increase inflammation within the rest of your body. It can sap your energy. It can lead to messing with your immune system. It can cause fatigue. It is important to get it moving. And for a lot of people, especially elderly people who are less mobile or frail already, there's a psychological factor there as well, because if it's not moving and it's not moving and it's not moving, when will it start moving again? Because it's only getting worse. Something needs to be done. By the time people get to hospital, quite often they give people a laxative and or an enema. And of course, they check for a blockage, because if there is an obstruction within the bowels, then it can't move through as well. But if there's no obstruction in the bowels, which they can see with imaging, if there's no obstruction in the bowels and there should be a normal passage through the system, if that's still possible, laxatives and an enema are the first ports of call. In the end, if it doesn't move at all, people need to go to theatre. What are the thoughts you overthink at 2 a.m.? What are the conversations you rehearse but never have? What are the feelings you minimize? Growth begins when you stop pretending that you are fine. Go to thequalityoflife.quest and book a one-to-one session. See you on the other side. What causes constipation? One of the factors is dehydration. People don't drink enough water. And if you drink enough water, the transit of poo is easier. If you are dehydrated, the body will reabsorb water from feces. So drinking water is one. Eating enough fibre. Now that is a very sore point for a lot of people. People think they eat enough fibre. Quite often they don't. And when they start listing the things they eat, because I prompt them, it's processed food, it's white bread, white pasta, white rice, white everything. It's a very beige color palette on their plate. And to change your diet is for a lot of people very, very, very difficult. I don't know what it is with changing diets. What makes it so difficult to change your diet? And I'm as guilty as the next one. I am consciously trying to get it better. I do know that when I'm in a pickle, I find it easy to take old trusted meals rather than try something new. Still, why is it so difficult to change? I think that if I had the answer to that question, I would be a multimillionaire overnight. Answers on a postcard. People think they're doing great, and when push comes to shove, quite often they don't do that great at all when it comes to eating fibers. Another contributing factor is movement. If you move your body, it helps with digestion. Again, there's lots of factors that come into play, but if you move, even if you go for a walk rather than sit in a chair, and when it's elderly people going for a walk, you know, sometimes going from the comfy chair to the dining table is already a struggle. So I do appreciate that moving can be tricky and can be an issue, but it is part of a good digestion and a good transit of your food through the digestive system. A lot of people deal with this at home and they will use over-the-counter medication, which is, you know, it's fine as long as it's kind of a one-off. And if it's a one-off, why did it happen? If it gets more regular, that things are not that regular, it becomes time to go to a healthcare professional. Check your diet, check your movement, check your hydration. Maybe all of a sudden it's summer and the sun's come out and it's very hot and you're sweating a lot. So you need more water intake than before. So check all those factors first. But if it's none of those, go and see a healthcare professional and start asking questions. Because if there is an obstruction in the bowels, then that needs sorting. You can't live with that. So that's part of the things you can do. You can drink more water, you can eat more fiber, and you can move. If those don't help, please go and see your doctor. Prevention is better than having to cure it. Know what your baseline is. Go on the internet, find the Bristol Stool Chart, and it's 4 you aim for. And for that to be your normal, for that to be regular, for that to preferably happen at least once a day. Basically, 1 meal in, 1 meal out. If you divert from your baseline, which hopefully is 4, but if you divert from your baseline and it's getting harder, it's getting more towards 1, please go and see your doctor. Go and see a healthcare professional, because you do not want to end up on our ward. Honestly, you don't want to be there. for the people who end up on the ward with constipation, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Look after yourself, and may the road rise up to meet you. Until next time. See you. Bye.